right, this is from the last Kenes Shluchim, as I said, that the Rebbe was there and the Rebbe spoke. This is right before the Rebbe had his first stroke, which was in Adar. So, beside the Shemaya, with the help of God, beside the Shemaya, with the help of God, but that's really the main thing of all the sichas and all the maimorim and everything, is that we have to do everything and Hashem will help us. Hashem will help us. We have to do it all and Hashem will help us. And after we do everything, I don't know, we realize that it was really Hashem doing the whole thing. This is from the sichas of Shabbos Parshas Sara, Kafei Mar Cheshbon, blessing the month of Kislev, Tafshin Nun Beis, in the Kenes Shluchim Olami. This is translated from Yiddish. V'amadnu b'tchilas b'atchalaso b'tichasa shel Kenes Shluchim Olami. We are now standing in the beginning and the opening of the Shluchim convention of the world. Now, for those of you who might not know, Chabad has what's called Shluchim, emissaries, through the whole world. There are, I don't know, 1,000, who knows how many Chabad houses there are in the world. But there's also a lot of institutions, Chabad institutions. And there's also a lot of organizations of Chabad in the world that and once a year, it's usually Shabbos Mavurchim, the month of Kislev, and they make a big convention, and there comes thousands and thousands of shluchim from all over the world, 5,000, 10,000. There's always these huge, beautiful pictures of all the shluchim standing there, a sea of shluchim, thousands. And here the Rebbe is speaking to them. Now we have to keep in mind that this is the last time that the Rebbe is speaking in front of all the shluchim, and it's, we have to say that the Rebbe knew what was going on, what was happening. So this is a very important message for all of us now. For all of us now. Now the Rebbe is not with us in a normal physical way like we had before. There's no more sichas, there's no more maimon. Even though it says that every Jew will raise from the dead, it's one of the basics of Judaism, 30. And also tzaddikim, it says even more that they're found in the world after they pass away, even more than before. And a lot of people, I'm among them, think that the Rebbe is the Moshiach. According to a lot of opinions, the Moshiach can and must even come from the dead or what seems to be dead. Anyway, basically, we don't really know what's going on. That's the fact of the matter is. But we do know what the Rebbe told us to do. And this is what we have to do. Like we just finished learning in the Mimer, the lower part of the commandments is in the world. The upper part is pure godliness. We don't understand what that is, pure godliness. A little bit of spirituality we can understand. So it's the same thing here. What's really going on? The spiritual part of it, the godly part of it, we don't know, but we do know what the Rebbe told us to do. And that's the whole point of this Kenes Shluchim, what we should do. These are the emissaries of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe said that he was also one of the followers. The Rebbe constantly said that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he is the Rebbe. He is the Rebbe. There were a few times when he said that he himself is, but the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he is the Rebbe. And that the Rebbe now is just a continuation of the previous Rebbe. He's like a shliach of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. But the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's the Mashiach. The Rebbe said a lot of times, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's the Mashiach. He will redeem us. He'll, how can it be? He passed away. And the Rebbe explained. Nevertheless, these are, the Rebbe is now speaking to the emissaries of the Chabad. In all the world, Ba'arba Campus Arts, in the four corners of the world, we have to mention, first of all, the very foundation. Ulavate at the tafkid and to express clearly the responsibility of the Shluchim B'doroi no Zeh B'chlal. Let's start off with the basics so that nobody makes any mistakes over here. What is the whole goal of the emissaries of Chabad in our generation? Ubefrat Chirush Netvosef B'miyuchad B'zman Achron, and especially a new thing, a new aspect of it that has been expressed later on in the service of the Shlichus. What is the job of all these thousands and thousands of emissaries of Chabad? What's the whole purpose of Chabad? Lekabel et Penei Moshiach Tzidkenu Begeula Amitit V'Shlema. One purpose, one sole goal, nothing other than this. Everything else is just a means. Don't fool yourself. Everything is just a means to receive the face of the Moshiach, Begeula Amitit V'Shlema. And of course, what differentiates good from evil is not so much the goals, is the means. Right? What means are you willing to take in order to receive these goals? So the Rebbe is going to clearly lay out what the means are here. Right? We see that and the means, in a way, are just as important, if not more important, and certainly more immediate, more relevant to us than the goal is. Like it says many times, in addition to the general point and goal of generally being a shliach in the Jewish people, shalucho shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu, we are emissaries of Hashem. Every Jew was put, in fact, every human being, but especially the Jews were put into this world to serve God. That's why every soul is a shliach. The soul was sent down with a purpose. I was created to serve my owner, my creator. Especially the Shluchim of the previous Rebbe, that the main shlichus is meshutefes, which is equal to all times, and it adds on more and more every year. The special goal that Chabad has taken on themselves, that this should permeate every single aspect of your shlichus, every single aspect of your job in the world, and this is the gate. This is the gate. And by means of it come all the things of shlichus. Namely, what is the gate? To receive the face of the Moshiach. How much more so in our case, with this is a chirush klali v'ikari, that this is a new thing and very, very essential. She'enu rak prat. This is not just a detail in being a representative of the Rebbe. Elu ikar ve'inyan klali biyoter. This is a main thing and very, very, I say, all-encompassing. To the degree that this is the most important fact of the Torah. Preparing for the coming of the Mashiach. We just finished learning about Abraham, right? God said to Abraham, you're going to be the father of all mankind. The Jews are supposed to be the fathers of all. When did that happen? When does that happen? Only Moshiach is going to do it. Up to now, it hasn't happened. And that's the goal of Judaism. Shemakiv et kol hanakudos, that this encompasses every detail of the service of a person, a Jew, in being an emissary of Hashem. Hashem sent us into the world. Like it's said many, many times, and especially in the last weeks, that by means of what the rabbis say, shekavar kalu kitzim. It already says in the Gemara and the Talmud, what is it? Tzadik Ches, wasn't it? Tzadik V'Zayin. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Sadak Zion, it says that Mashiach is going to come. When is he going to come? It says over there that all of the appointed times when he was supposed to come, those had already passed. If the Mashiach comes now, and this is talking about 1,000, whatever it is, 500 years ago, 600 years ago, if Mashiach comes right now, he's late. The appointed times for Mashiach have already passed us, right? Passed us. Mashiach for sure is going to come. But if he comes right now, then he's going to be right this minute. He's already 1,000 years late, 1,800 years later. This is the sign. This is what the previous Rebbe announced. That all the Jewish people already, how do you say, the quantum mass, the necessary amount of Jews have already returned to God. That in general, all of the service that's lacking to bring Mashiach has finished, ready for the parade. We've even shined up the buttons for the parade. And we're standing prepared, the Kabbalah, to receive the face of the Mashiach Tzidkenu. If so, what do we see? That the service of Shlichus now is to be prepared actually to receive the Mashiach B'Poel Mamash. So that says the Rebbe is the main thing. Now, what does this mean? This is not stopped. A lot of people say that, the Rebbe had a nice idea, but, and I'm sure that inside of each one of us, inside of me, is also a little voice that says the same thing. And that's why the Rebbe is speaking to the Shluchim, that he's saying, I know that inside of every one of you is this feeling that, come on, let's not exaggerate. Let's not go overboard about this Mashiach thing. It's very important. So the Rebbe is trying to tell everybody to go against their nature. That's what Chabad is. That's what Mashiach is, to go against your nature. Go against your nature. Transform your nature. The nature for a person is to say, I'll do Torah, I'll do commandments, I'll make the world a better place, I'll makarev Jews, I'll do what I can. And the Rebbe says, okay, that's very nice to do, actually they should, but that's not your goal. The goal is supposed to be bring Mashiach right now, and if Mashiach doesn't come right now, you should be terribly disappointed in yourself. That's the whole goal. That's the whole picture. There's nothing outside of that. Going to heaven, having a nice family, being a Talmid Chacham, those are very wonderful things. You cannot in any way detract from them. But that's not the point. That's not the point. Those are only means. The goal is to bring Mashiach B'Poel Mamash. And now the Rebbe is going to tell us how to do it. That's why, says the Rebbe, there's Shluchim all over the world. That's why Chabad does these crazy things and builds these big buildings. Goes to places where there's no kashrus, there's no mikveh, and there's no minyan, and there's no education for the children, and there's no do all these things. Why? Only for one person. Not that Chabad should be great and we should make more outposts and we're going to take over the world. That's not the purpose. The purpose is only one purpose, and that is to bring Mashiach. And all those other things are nice. Take over the world, Chabad's everywhere, that's good, but that's only a means. The whole purpose of this Kinnis Shluchim now is in this point. Lidaber biyachad, to speak together about how to make resolutions, good resolutions, al menat l'kaim b'pol, in order to actually do it. Ketzad lebatzeas shlichus, how to do the shlichus, which is specially for our time. Namely what? Kabbalat Panei Mashiach Tzidkenu. So we can never forget about that. Receiving the face of Mashiach. We must do things that should be good for the Jews, and we have to do things in order that Eretz Israel should be ours and it should be strong, and we have to try to make people religious, and if we can, influence all the Jews and the non-Jews, we should say 7 Noahide commandments, etc. But those things are only means. That's not the goal, and they're very precious means, and they're very necessary means, but they're not the goal. Right? It's like a doctor that has the best qualifications, the biggest genius in healing, and he has the best equipment, and he has the best team and the best staff, right? And the best, okay, those are wonderful things that he's got, but the goal is to make grandpa healthy again. That's the goal. The goal is to bring Mashiach. And that's why the Rebbe is speaking to the Shluchim. You are the doctors. You are the teachers. You are the emissaries of the Rebbe. You are the true emissaries of Hashem. And you're here to teach everybody to be the emissaries of Hashem. And the whole goal is to bring this one person who's going to be called Mashiach. You can say, come on, I mean, this is Judaism. Well, you have to remember that if there was no Abraham going against his nature, standing against, there would be no Judaism. Later on, if there was no Moses, the Jews would have stayed in Egypt, no problem, especially after the 10 plagues. Sure, they would have stayed there. And they wouldn't have gotten the Torah. They didn't want to go across Yam Suf. Right? And they said to Moshe, you get it. It's too much for us. We can't. They wouldn't have gone into the land of Israel after all this. There has to be a leader that convinces us and inspires us to go against our natures. Mashiach. And that's our job, is to bring him. For some reason or another, we have to be partners in this whole thing to bring Mashiach. With Mashiach Tzidkenu, and that's the idea of a shliach. A shliach has power from the Rebbe to do this impossible task, to bring one person that's going to change the whole world. This is the connection of the shlichus, the shluchim that gathered here today with the Mashiach Tzidkenu. We can understand by a simple explanation. The connection of the Mashiach himself with shlichus. Why can't Mashiach just come? That's it. Let him come. Mashiach wants to come. Let him come. What's the problem? He says, no, there has to be shluchim. There has to be emissaries. And the emissaries, they will do the job of making the shidduch between Hashem and the Jewish people and Hashem and the world. There has to be a shadchan. There has to be a Mashiach. Mashiach has to do it. And we have to bring Mashiach. We're the ones that have to do it. That's our whole shlichus. Where do we see such a thing like this? Let's see. On the sentence that says, Shalach na biyad tishalach. When Moses was at the burning bush, so God said, go and take the Jews out of Egypt. They're suffering too much over there. You take them out. So Moshe, he was like a shepherd. You know, he didn't talk to anybody. None of that. He couldn't talk. He stuttered. He stammered. So God said, I'm picking you. You take the Jews out. So Moshe, you know, it was like almost a joke. You know, Moshe said, you're talking to me? I'm going to take the Jews. God, this can't possibly be. You know, I have a speech impediment. I'm not a good example. You know, I'm a really good shepherd. So, I'm sorry. I got to get back to my sheep. God, shalach biyad tishalach. Send somebody else. That's what Moshe said to God. Shalach na, please, biyad tishalach. Send someone else. Don't send me, God. I mean, I'm sure you know what you're doing, but here it seems that, you know, you got the wrong guy. I don't even want to go. You know what? I'm not going to go. Moshe said, Shalach na biyad tishalach. Send somebody else. Moshe said to God, when God sent him, Israel, to take the Jews out of Egypt, he said, Moshe said in front of God, Rabbonu Shalom, Shalach na biyad tishalach. Send someone else. Biyad Mashiach. Send the Mashiach. Shu atid lagalot. Mashiach will take the Jews out permanently. Al Pisa, according to this, Yesh Lomo, we can say that in the Mashiach, Yesh Gerush El Shliach. Moshe said, please send another emissary. Who is the emissary? The Mashiach. He's an emissary. He's a Shliach. Mashiach, the Mashiach that's supposed to come to change the whole world, he's just a Shliach. Shalach tishalach. That's what Moshe says. God, you said you want to send me? You want to send somebody? The one you should send is the one that's really worth sending. That's the Mashiach. Mashiach, he is the real emissary of a Kodesh Baruch Hu to redeem the Jews. There's a simple reason why Moshe requested is not like I said before, that Moshe said I can't. The reason that Moshe did, Moshe certainly felt the pain of the Jews. he certainly wanted to get the Jews out, and he certainly believed in God. Why did Moshe try to decline? But Pirush, Rashi says, Biyad acher shetirtze lishloach, send someone else. She'ein sofi lachnisam le'eretz. I'm not going to be the final emissary, God. I'm not going to be the one that takes the Jews into the land of Israel. V'lios golam latir, and I'm not going to redeem them in the future. Therefore, why do two? Why send me and also send Moshiach? Yesh lecha shluchim arba. You've got a lot of other emissaries. Hoyel b'lav hachi, since in the end, lo shalach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's Moshe lachnisam there. It's because God did not take Moshe to bring them into the land of Israel and to be the future redeemer. Ela shalach shliach acher. But in the future, he's going to send the Mashiach. And so Moshe said, you know what, God? Sheyishlach Mashiach lios guolam. So if so, send the Mashiach to take the Jews out of Egypt now. Why should Mashiach, I take them out of Egypt, and then Mashiach is going to take them out of Galus. Send Mashiach now, and let him take them out of Egypt and Galus. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu said. And that's what it says in the Midrash, so it must be true. We have to understand, Moshe Rabbeinu certainly understood, and especially understood, that he, Moshe, that he was the highest level of wisdom, of holiness. Moshe received the Torah from Sinai. Certainly he knew, Shekodesh Baruch Hu Atzmo, that God himself knew, Shehu Atid Lishloach et Mashiach. God knew that there was going to be a Mashiach, and not Moshe, to redeem the Jewish people. God knew that there was going to be two, and God wanted there to be two. He wanted there to be Moshe. He was going to be the first redeemer, and it says Mashiach is going to be the last redeemer. So what is Moshe arguing about? B'chol zot, b'achar b'Moshe, he said, God, you knew what you're doing. You have a Mashiach, you're going to send the Jews out. Nevertheless, you chose me to take them out of Egypt. So why is Moshe mixing in? Maduin can bikesh Moshe. Why did Moshe request shalach no bi'at teshlach? Don't send me, send Mashiach. God wanted it to be a two-step thing. Why is Moshe suggesting to God, hey, maybe let's get this over quick? Well, God doesn't know what he's doing. But on the other hand, since that Moshe, he was Chacham of Kedusha, he requested and he offered God, made this God this offer that don't send me, send Mashiach, to do the whole thing at once. Moshe wasn't doing this for selfish reasons. Moshe suggested to God because he really thought that God would do it. He thought that this was really a good and a holy way of doing things. If so, why didn't God do what Moshe said? So it makes no sense. If Moshe knew that God wanted to send two, he was going to be the first redeemer, and Mashiach will be the last redeemer. So why did Moshe say, forget about the first and second, just do it in all one step? On the other hand, Moshe did request. Moshe was certainly, anything other than lacking wisdom. Moshe was the wisest person. He received the Torah. So if Moshe made this request, it was not a foolish request. Why did God not take his request into account and say, Moshe, listen, you got a good idea over there? Why didn't he do it? The answer to this is going to be, God willing, tomorrow. No, you know what? Maybe let's finish this. Let's just finish up to Gimel, okay? Yes. Yesh Lomar, we can say, okay? Good. Let's continue. Good. We have 4 more minutes. Yesh Lomar, we can say, Shehi Notenet, that this is it's self-understood. It's self-understood. In other words, what is our question? Our question is, God said to Moshe, take the Jews out of Egypt. You be my shliach. And Moshe said, why send 2 shluchim? Me to take the Jews out of Egypt, and Mashiach to bring them into Israel in the final redemption. Send Mashiach now. That's one side, right? How could Moshe go against what Hashem said? Hashem knows what he's doing. How could Moshe suggest otherwise? On the other hand, the question goes the other way. Moshe knew that God knows what he's doing, and nevertheless he made this suggestion. Why didn't Hashem consider his suggestion? Say, you know what, Moshe, you're right, I'll just send one. Yeshlom, we can say that it's self-understood, because that this was a request of Moshe, and it was brought in the Torah, and the Torah is true, and the Torah is eternal. Therefore, it happened. If Moshe made the request, it means that the request was fulfilled. Sha'oto shliach, that same emissary that God sent to redeem the Jews from Egypt, Moshe, that emissary himself will be the one that God will take the Jews out of the exile we're in. Like it says in the Midrash, Moshe is the first redeemer, and Moshe will be the last redeemer. This was the intention of Moshe. That's why Moshe requested from God. He didn't think that God was making a mistake. Moshe, by means of requesting from God, send whoever you want, even though that he knew that God was going to, in the future, send him anyway, the Shluch Achakach and Moshiach, even though that he knew that God was going to send the Mashiach afterwards. So why did Moshe suggest to God that there should only be one, not me and Mashiach? Because he wanted to tie together the first Redeemer with the last Redeemer. Moshe was trying to say, Hashem, I'm taking the Jews out of Egypt, but give me the power that I'll also be the one that takes the Jews out of the exile. Shagama Geula Rishon, that also the first redemption from slavery in Egypt will be attached to Biyad Tishalach the Mashiach, the last redemption, that God will take the Jews out of this confusion of Gullus. It'll also be, Moshe said, I want to have a hand in that also. Kolomer, in other words, even though that Moshe and the Mashiach, they're really two different people, for a simple reason that Moshe was from the tribe of Levi, and Mashiach is going to come from Yehuda, Beis David. And they are two different things. Moshe taking the Jews from Egypt is a different thing than Mashiach taking the Jews from exile into Israel. Nevertheless, they are attached and united one with the other. This first redemption from Egypt, this is going to be the power. It's going to be the vanguard. It's going to be the ideal that according to this, the future redemption is going to go according to. In other words, it opened up already, and it set the stage for the future redemption going out of Egypt, as we're going to see. And the whole thing depends on a shliach, and that's who we are. We are shluchim to bring Moshiach, as we'll talk about, God willing, tomorrow. Thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you at 3 o'clock, I hope. 3 o'clock, we learn Chumash and Halacha and Mishnah. Have a good day.